Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Juan Carlos from Inspiral Growth. Today, in the segment of Growth Hacks Experiences, we have a special guest. We are thrilled to have Matt Harris joining us today to this episode. Let me tell you a little bit about Matt. Uh, Matt has an extraordinary journey in the cleaning industry, and his expertise it's also bringing him to apply SaaS and tech growth techniques and strategies into this sector, the hospitality, the leisure, the cleaning industry worldwide. Now, Matt is also providing invaluable insights for his audience. Together with him, we're going to explore key challenges. We're going to discuss about what can lead to a sustainable growth in this industry, as well, and then many other ones that actually where it can be replicable. And we're going to also talk a bit about some strategies that are related to the common life of entrepreneurs. So, welcome, Matt. How are you?
Hey, Juan Carlos. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me onto your show. Looking forward to this.
Excellent. And I really appreciate, and I would like to start by asking you, Matt, could you tell us a little bit about how was it that you came into the sector where you are expanding your business?
Sure. So I started a cleaning business 11 years ago. And at the time I was working, I had a full-time job. I was a property lawyer, and I came up with the idea to start a cleaning business just from speaking with a couple of friends who had started businesses themselves. I thought, yeah, sounds like a great idea. And I started it as a side hustle initially. Then a couple of years after launching the business, I decided that it was time for me to retire as a lawyer and focus on growing my business. And we did quite well. The first sort of 3 or 4 years, we managed to double in size. Then I managed to organize a couple of acquisitions. So we bought some cleaning businesses as well. And that process didn't go as well as was planned. There were sort of issues with integration, and we bought the wrong type of cleaning business in hindsight. But it was all part of the learning curve. And then really after making some operational changes, so we had a team of 30, 40 cleaners at one stage, and then we pivoted it and we outsourced everything to other cleaning businesses. That enabled us to run quite a lean operation. After doing all that, I thought, look, I've been 8 years in the game. It was time for me to sell the business, because I think I had probably taken it as far as I could at that time in my life. And then after a sort of break for a couple of years where I had a property management business, which unfortunately didn't make it through COVID, I started hanging out in cleaning communities, and there were 2 recurring themes that I noticed. One was, how do I find and retain good staff? And the other was, how do I, get more work? How do I win more contracts? Find more cleaning opportunities. And I thought, well, one thing that worked for me quite well when I started was sort of outbound marketing, cold calls, cold emails. And I started helping a few cleaning business owners. The stuff that I was telling them worked. And I thought, okay, there's potential here to grow this into a bit more of a business. One thing led to another. And then at the start of the year really is when we, at the growth lab, we managed to get the most traction. We started working with a handful of cleaning businesses, originally for lead generation. Then that pivoted more into sort of becoming a growth partner. So essentially helping them with, identify their growth strategies, which sales channels to pursue, organizing the sales processes, identifying their ideal client profile, getting the right tech stack in place. That's taken us up to the point where we are today.
Wonderful. That's exciting, and exactly the perspective that I notice when it comes about growth mindset, and when it comes about understanding the let's say the growth strategies in terms of growth hacking. There is no school for this. There is not really, you cannot really go to an university and say like, okay, teach me growth strategies, that they will tell
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
okay, this is not, no, like the process that you have been going through, it's necessary to really understand the
absolutely.
different changes that you go through a business, that you go through a different kinds of sectors, and something that you mentioned is the moment that you did acquisitions for your first business. I think actually most of the entrepreneurs don't even get to that level of doing acquisitions of other businesses in their first business, especially. And
Yeah,
probably that had to do also with your past as in the law.
yeah, a little bit. So I sort of 3 or 4 years into running my business, I joined like an entrepreneur community. And essentially there was a mentor there, and we'd have sessions every a couple of months, and a lot of it worked on mindset. And then there was also sort of different strategies that you can implement depending on whichever sector or industry you worked into. And what got me sort of going down the acquisition route was I went on a retreat to Guilin in China. We were there for 10 days, and during the day, a lot of the focus was on, okay, business, what are the different options? I think there were 50 of us on this retreat, so that's 50 different businesses, that's 50 different strategies and approaches that are applicable to each business. And I learned quite a bit. I'm really and then the evening was sort of focused on mindset. It was focused a lot around building the right habits, building the right sort of routines, identifying when you're doing things that are sort of self-sabotaging. But it was really, I guess, being in that immersive experience that gave me the sort of confidence to think, well, like, why can't I pursue this sort of strategy? Don't get me wrong, I pursued it and I executed it wrong, but therein lies the lesson, right? I still got a lot of experience from that 3 or 4 year journey after the acquisition. And to be perfectly honest, it is, it's another approach that I'm looking at right now. So I'm currently in the process of sourcing, identifying potential cleaning businesses to buy, because the long-term goal is to sort of build up a cleaning and FM group. I kind of know the sort of revenue target that we want to hit, and what the exit amount is going to be. But that's going to take a period of 3, 4, 5 years to be able to get to that point. And the good thing is that I've already done it once, not to any massive level. We weren't dealing with businesses of £1 million sizes, but I've gone through that buying experience already. And I think, going back to growth, if you're looking to grow your business at quite a rapid pace, then acquisition is going to be one of the quickest, if not the quickest way to do that. Because, especially if you've already got a solid operation, then you can buy revenue, strip out the costs, and integrate it within your existing business. So that's something that we will be looking to introduce at the Growth Lab with the cleaning businesses that we're working with, simply because there's a lot of opportunity out there right now, not just because of the economic climate, but demographically, there's a lot of baby boomers now. So people that were born in the 50s, 60s that have businesses that don't necessarily have succession plans. What do? They want to retire, but they don't just want to wind down the business. An acquisition with the right sort of structured payout is going to be ideal for them. So, there's a couple of past experience, learning since that experience, and all the other things that I picked up along the way has sort of brought me to this point. And I'm excited because there's a lot of opportunity ahead, and I'm always open to learning and applying and seeing what works.
Wow, that sounds very exciting, Matt. I see a big vision. That's what I consider actually is always pretty important for all entrepreneurs to
Yeah,
always have a north star, and not to be too limited about it, to really understand actually the potential that someone can have. In
Yeah.
that sense, I also I would like to share to our audience that it doesn't happen to me that many times that I see a company or let's say the channels of a company, and that in the first 3 seconds I understand exactly where the sector they are, what they are doing,
Yeah.
and on on some of the ways how they are achieving it. This happened with me with Matt. When I visit your website,
Thank you.
man, actually right away was very clear.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little more about how that came to happen?
Yeah, sure. Look, again, this has come about through experience. So when I had my cleaning business, I wasn't taking this approach. As with any small business owner, when you started or as you grow your business, you kind of keep your head in the game a lot. So you focus on what's in front of you rather than taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. So it was really after I sold my cleaning business, after my property management business didn't work out, I spent a lot of time learning, learning about myself, my strengths and weaknesses, and also sort of going back to basics in terms of, all right, how can I, the next venture that I go into, how can I make it better? What would make it easier? And really, a lot of it comes down to, as you start a new business, you need to find your niche. You need to determine the market that you're serving. You need to identify the type of clients that you want to target. And that process for me with the Growth Lab, it probably took a good 6 or 7 months of, okay, I know I want it to be in cleaning because that's where I have the majority of my experience. So for me, that was already, a done deal. I know my market. So now I needed to sort of hone in and find what sector in that market I was looking to serve. And that was a bit of trial and error. Originally, I was going after sort of small businesses under 500,000 turnover because I thought, okay, I could offer them some coaching in that respect. That didn't quite work. It wasn't quite the right fit for me. Then I thought, okay, I'm going to go for the bigger businesses, the sort of, 10 to 20 million. And again, I haven't had any experience working in that size of business, but I tried because I wanted to see what the barriers to entry were in dealing with that type of business. And I found that where I am right now, it was a little bit above my experience. So then I took it back to, okay, between maybe 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 million turnover, that may well be the sort of sweet spot, because at that size of business, they will have, the owner will have some sort of management team in place, but they won't necessarily have all of the right infrastructure to enable them to grow beyond, 1, 2, 3 million pound turnover. And they've got a nice business, they've got nice clients, and, they're probably happy with the existing business, but to kind of start scaling beyond that, they need to change their approach a little bit and put a little bit more sales infrastructure in place. So really, once I spent time researching, I must have spoken with, 100 plus cleaning business owners of all different sizes. That was reaching out to them on LinkedIn, that was, doing email campaigns, that was going through Twitter. And really, that helped me determine the market, the ideal client, and the niche that I wanted to go after. So now we look to work with cleaning businesses between 1 and 5 million pound turnover that have a good operational setup, have second tier management, but don't necessarily have a dedicated sales or business development function, because they rely a lot on referral marketing or networking and relationships. They don't have any systemized way to to bring in new clients. Perhaps they do a bit of Google AdWords, but they're not really getting the right type of clients as a result of implementing Google AdWords, because you can't really say, okay, I want a manufacturing business with 50 million pound turnover to, land on my ad. You don't have control over that. So that helped me define the sort of the market and the niche. And then really in terms of the approach that I took to sort of find these clients, you know, I went back to basics. I'm not a sales guy. Sales isn't my forte, but as you well know, you know, as an entrepreneur, you're selling all the time, right? You might not be the expert in sales, but to get your business started, you need to sell. Without any sales, like, you've got no business. So, you know, I started learning some fundamentals, and, you know, lead generation fundamentals, sales process, sales methodologies, you know, different technologies to use. And the more I spoke with cleaning business owners, the more I realized that they don't have any of that. You know, a lot of the owners that I spoke with, whether they were a sub £500,000 turnover business or a £10 million business, they didn't even have a CRM. And I was thinking, how have you got to 10 million without a CRM? How are you not following up on leads, on clients? How are you managing that process?
Wow.
And that was an eye opener. So that helped me evolve the business from, okay, let me try and generate some leads for you, to I need to take a complete step back, and even going back to the fundamentals of, like, what have you got a sales process? Have you got anywhere to capture this information? You know, do you have a nurture campaign? What does your process look like? And oftentimes when I ask business owners that, they just, you know, the phone goes quiet, or they stare at me blankly at the screen because they don't have anything. They're like, well, I don't have anything.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, if you want to be serious about growing your business, then there are some sort of key fundamentals that you need to have in place.
Yeah, exactly. I think that that's interesting about the sense that sometimes when we see these companies, they have been operating still on the old times, like almost like yellow pages to find their clients,
Look, obviously they found something that works. Something
yeah.
works, otherwise they wouldn't have got to that size. So that, you know, that isn't to be that's not to be critical. However, to continue that growth, like, you need to have an infrastructure in place. No, you need to have a process. You need to be doing something repetitively.
Yeah, indeed. And there is something that is happening right now. Like, for example, how do you see it from the perspective as as an specialist in growth? AI, it's appearing now in the industry, and you know, the cleaning industry. I started my career in the leisure industry, in the tourism industry. So we were in similar industries that, let's say, they deal with so much people,
Yeah.
so much let's say training processes, so many HR situations, and now do you think actually that's going to change with all this new technology coming?
I'll be honest, the cleaning industry, in my experience, has been like super slow at adopting any sort of technological changes. Yes, there are cleaning robots, and there is like cleaning hardware, but from a software perspective, like, the cleaning industry, in particular in the UK, I wouldn't go as far as the US. I think they're much more savvy over there at using tech and adopting tech. But here in the UK, I'd be surprised if 1% of the cleaning businesses over here, you know, have a solid software infrastructure. And of that 1%, how many of them would be using AI? I would guess 0. So really, you know, can it have an impact in the industry? For sure, it can. You know, from an office space, you know, it can help with looking at what we do. It can help, you know, be your research assistant for doing research, for, you know, doing background research on the type of clients that you're looking to target, for building your prospecting list, for helping you prepare the first draft of your cold email, for helping you prepare your sales letter, expanding it out a little bit. You mentioned HR, yes, for sure. I'm sure there's employee handbooks and processes that can be implemented in that space. From an operational perspective, can it contribute to you sorting out a procedures manual, and training guides? For sure, it can contribute to all of that. The reality is, how many cleaning business owners, and I go back to the demographic that I pointed out, from the acquisition criteria, like how many of the business owners who are 50, 60, 70 now are going to adopt technology? I'd be surprised if, they'll certainly have an email. I'll be surprised if they have a CRM. And that's not, I don't want to come off as, again, being critical about it, but that is a common occurrence that I come across. They just don't have it. They work off a spreadsheet or a notebook. I mean, what can you do with that?
Yeah. It has been a relationship strategy industry
for sure,
for a long term.
A lot of it is